What is up, everybody? Welcome back to Good Grip Sports Basketball. And with the playoffs coming to an end, I thought it'd be a good idea to review every team's most underrated player from the 2021 season. So we're going to go in numerical or alphabetical order. Today we're only going to be doing the Eastern Conference. So let's start it off with the Atlanta Hawks. Before we get to today's video, I would like to encourage all of you guys to check out my website at sportsrockbottom.com. Link will be in the description. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter. It will be right there on the header. You get free, amazing content from our top writers, including me and some others. And I would love if you guys checked it out. For the Atlanta Hawks, I decided to go with the most underrated player on their team, obviously, Clint Capella. He averages 15.2 points a game, and he leads the league in rebounds per game with 14.3. And on a team with Trae Young and John Collins, he's definitely an afterthought. But when they traded for him from Houston, he became a really big part and important part in their plans for the future and their current team. And he played a big part in them getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. For the Boston Celtics, I decided to go with Evan Fournier. Now, he is extremely underrated because he is in the shadow of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown. He was in the shadow of Kemba Walker. They signed him to a one-year contract at the beginning of the season, which I barely covered in my free agency videos because I didn't think it'd be a huge deal. But he turned out to be an instrumental part in the Celtics making it into the playoffs. He averaged 17.1 points per game, and he wasn't very much of an assist man. He played small forward / shooting guard, so he shot the ball a lot. He came in when Jason Tatum usually wasn't on, and he kind of took over Jason Tatum's position, scored all of Jason Tatum's points that he would have gotten if he was on the floor, and really led the Bucks or the Celtics into the playoffs. Although his underperformance in the playoffs definitely played a key role in them losing to the Nets in the playoffs. The Brooklyn Nets have one of the best threesomes in the NBA: Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and of course James Harden. But the most underrated player on their team is Jeff Green. He shoots 41.2 3-point percentage, and he averages 11 points per game. He's been a journeyman throughout his career up until this point. He signed a one-year contract with the Nets preseason, and after his performance this season, I imagine they're going to re-sign him. Next up for the Charlotte Hornets, we have Devontae Graham. Devontae Graham had a rough start to the season after LaMelo Ball kind of took off, but during LaMelo Ball's injury, Devontae Graham became LaMelo Ball. He got crazy good assists, lots of points. In fact, he averaged 14.8 points per game and 5.4 assists per game. He kind of carried the Hornets into one of their best regular season finishes in the past 5 years. Him and LaMelo Ball teamed up are going to be very deadly next season if he decides to move to shooting guard and leave the point guard position. Next up, we have former All-Star Nikola Vucevic, who was traded to the Bulls at mid-season. And he's been the best player on the Bulls by far, yet we don't hear his name talked about that much. He's averaging 23.4 points per game. He's averaging 11.7 rebounds per game, which is 5th in the entire NBA. And he's been the heart and soul of the Chicago Bulls offense. He has adapted very well to their offensive scheme. He's basically the only large center / power forward on their team, and he gets lots of minutes and he provides within those minutes. Next up, we have Cleveland Cavaliers center / forward Cedi Osman. He comes in off of the bench and usually as a substitute for Kevin Love. He averages 10.4 points per game, which doesn't seem like a lot, but he is instrumental in the locker room. He's still very young, but he feels like a veteran on that team. He shows great leadership skills, and he is very important to that Cavaliers motivation. He is a very good motivator, and the Cavaliers will probably keep him along on the team because of those natural leadership skills. Next up for the Detroit Pistons is Jeremiah Grant, who left Denver for the Pistons in the offseason, and he has had a breakout season for the Pistons this year. He's averaging 22.3 points per game. His shooting percentage is very, very good. He is the heart and soul of the entire offense of the Pistons. With Denver, he was a 3-and-D player. With the Pistons, he is a point guard, shooting guard. His defense has improved with Detroit, and he is the best player on the Detroit Pistons. But you don't hear about him all that much. He could have been the most improved player this offseason. I wouldn't have been surprised if he got it. And I think he's just going to grow from there because he is still a young player. Next up for the Indianapolis Pacers, we have Doug McDermott. McDermott is one of the best current three-point shooters in the NBA. Although his three-point percentage doesn't look like it's a very lethal three-point shooter, his game tape definitely shows it. Averages 13.6 points per game, and he's a very much 3-and-D player, although his defense definitely needs to improve. But his three-point shot is so fluent, his form is absolutely amazing, and without him, the Pacers would be a very much inside the arc team feeding to Domantas Sabonis some more, and Sabonis hasn't delivered the way he did a couple years ago. For the Miami Heat, their most underrated player is Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn plays point guard, although his assist totals don't necessarily show that. His basketball IQ and court vision is one of the best in the league. He is a very good 1-2 punch with Tyler Hero at point guard. When Hero gets tired, Nunn comes on. Nunn gets tired, Hero comes on. And compared that with Jimmy Butler, that team should have gone a lot farther into the playoffs. The Milwaukee Bucks' most underrated player is Brook Lopez. Now, Brook Lopez only averages 12.3 points per game along with 5 rebounds per game, but those numbers would be a lot higher if he didn't play alongside Giannis. Now, even with Giannis on the court, he manages to get 12.3 points per game, which is very good when you're playing with an MVP that doesn't usually pass the ball. Brook Lopez is a very tall dude, kind of skinny, however, that doesn't stop him from getting into the paint and being extremely aggressive. He can also shoot the ball very well, as most bigs can today. His three-point percentage is around 35%, and Brook Lopez, although his career is winding down, still is one of the best shooting centers in the league. The New York Knicks' most underrated player is Immanuel Quickley. Now, Quickley is probably the best three-point shooting rookie from the 2020 class. He averages 11.4 points per game, and he's alongside the most improved player, Julius Randle. Now, Immanuel Quickley definitely can work on his finishing skills and his skills in getting into the paint, but his three-point shot is absolutely beautiful and a work of art. The Orlando Magic most underrated player is Terrence Ross. Now, Terrence Ross averages 15.6 points per game, and he's coming off of the bench getting those points. His career is definitely winding down, maybe 2 or 3 more years left in the league. However, Terrence Ross is still one of the most powerful yet small point guard / shooting guard. He gets into the paint at will. He's worked on his floater very well, and it looks tremendous. His finishing skills are elite level, and his dunks are absolutely crazy to watch, especially back when he played for the Raptors. Terrence Ross getting up there in age, as I stated before. However, he plays like he's still young. The 76ers' most underrated player is Shake Milton, who plays shooting guard. His shooting skills are very good. He gets around the defender using a little arm that he puts out that kind of blocks his leg. Then he puts his butt into them and draws the foul very easily, averaging 13 points per game, coming off of the bench in place of usually Ben Simmons, sometimes Danny Green. And Shake Milton still has lots of room to grow. He is still very young, still learning the ins and outs of the NBA compared to college ball. I think Shake Milton has the potential to be a Immanuel Quickley future star, or an RJ Barrett, or a Julius. I don't know why I just named all Knicks players, but I mean, all of them has huge potential, just like Shake Milton. The Toronto Raptors' most underrated player is a very young shooting guard, Gary Trent Jr., who averages 15.3 points per game and will probably be most remembered for his game winner against the Magic earlier in the season, where he dropped 30 to 40 points. It was a tremendous showing from him. It was coming right after his trade from the Trailblazers, and both the Trailblazers and the Raptors got very good players who are both on the list for the most underrated players. For the Blazers, it's Norman Powell. For the Raptors, it's Gary Trent Jr. I think Gary Trent Jr. might be the next Kyle Lowry if Kyle Lowry decided to shoot a lot more. He's going to be the future of this team, and the Raptors have a very bright future in him. The final player of this Eastern Conference edition belongs to the Washington Wizards, Rui Hachimura. He averages 13.8 points per game and 5.5 rebounds per game. He has been underrated since the Wizards drafted him with the 8th overall pick. Rui Hachimura is one of the best players in the Washington Wizards have had in recent years. He is a very big body. He looks a lot taller than he is. He's only 6'8" and a half, but his presence is always felt in the paint. He plays power forward and can play center when Robin Lopez isn't playing it. The Wizards are definitely going to need to extend his contract if they want him to stay, and they need to pay him some big bucks because he absolutely deserves it. As always, guys, don't forget to like and subscribe down below, and check out my other channels in the description down below along with my website, and I'll see you guys next time.